Welcome to the Buick Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Marion, and on this podcast, we dive deep into the outdoors. We discuss hunting and fishing techniques, give you tips and tricks, tell stories, and everything in between to help you enjoy the outdoors. This podcast is brought to you by Northbound Gear. Northbound Gear is designed for maneuverability and durability and is made to last through even the toughest of elements. My go-to for their pants is the water resistance adventure pants and their lined waterproof jeans. I've worn them while out ice fishing, crawling through the woods bear hunting, and on the west coast out on the boat. And I even wear them around when I'm having a lazy day at the house. They are that comfortable. They also offer jackets, summer pants, backpacks, and many more. Men's and women's sizes are available, and by partnering with One Tree Planted, you're planting a tree with every purchase. Check them out for yourself at northboundgear.co, and when you use my promo code Sheldon15 at checkout, you'll receive 15% off your order. That's northboundgear.co and promo code Sheldon15. Well, welcome back to another Buick Outdoors podcast. Today is a little bit different. I'm joined by Shelby, my brother, and my brother's wife, Courtney. Blain and Courtney, they both run the Macaroni Meadows YouTube channel, and they also have their own podcast called the No Wasted Days podcast. And the YouTube channel is mainly focused on just living a better, healthier lifestyle, getting outdoors, and running their small little hobby farm. And their No Wasted Days podcast is all about the sober life. If you guys want to check them out, you can head over to YouTube, and you can also find them on all major podcast platforms.
I can talk about my 1,000 hours outside, which I turned into 2,000 hours outside.
Yeah, let's start with that.
It's things that I like doing.
Yeah. What are you doing to spend 2,000 hours outside, and is that throughout the year?
Well, I did last year. I did a challenge because I found like a podcast thing, and it was like a challenge for just for kids, because they say that kids spend 1,000 hours a year on like screens. So to counterbalance it, they tried to do a challenge where you spend 1,000 hours outside. And I was really motivated, and I started in February, and I was like, 1,000 hours, I can do 2,000, no problem. I ended up at like 2,300. It was awesome.
So what did you do to get that 1,000 hours though?
I did everything. Went for walks, hikes, had fires. Fishing. Went and cut firewood, fishing, went hunting, bear camp.
Well, and you count lots of stuff too. Like,
work.
Yeah. Like
a lot of work.
Going like to Moberly and shit to get like, you count that outside, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you are outside. Like, that's the point of it, just getting outside instead of staying in, so.
And then when we moved here, like, we got all our Macaroni Meadows stuff filming.
Garden.
And our
garden took a huge chunk.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking that'll kill some time.
I remember, like, in the summertime, we'd, like, get up when the sun came up at, like, 5:36 and, like, spend, like, the first, like, 5 hours just outside. Go to Williston, take the dog for a run.
I had such a sick tan last year.
Oh, I know. I can't
like
wait for, like, spring and
tan
summer.
of my life.
Yeah. Well, it's nice, too, because, like, it made a guy like you kind of get back into the outdoors, because I know there was a little bit of time where you're on a bit of a hiatus kind of thing, where you kind of went your own ways and did your own thing, and now you're back into hunting and fishing and getting back out there. So it's actually nice to see that something as simple as just making a goal of 1,000 hours outside has really got you out.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing too is just like the change in our diet is 100% the biggest reason why we go outside. Mm-hmm. Because instead of, like, we try to, like, our ultimate goal is to, like, grow all our own food here and then hunt and fish. Like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then, like, last year, doing all the hunting and fishing, and then doing our own gardening, plus buying local, like, fruit and vegetables and stuff. I think that plays a big part, because it's, you shouldn't, I honestly believe that people shouldn't buy food from a grocery store that's all prepackaged and all got a bunch of bullshit in it.
Yeah.
I think you should hunt and fish to get your meat, and whatever you can't hunt and fish, you should get from a farm.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. Because I know every once in a while, we don't get a moose or don't get an elk, something like that. So you have to kind of subsidize with grocery store stuff. But, like, I can 100% tell the difference between a beef from the grocery store and a beef from somebody's farm just up the road. And then compare that even to, like, a wild moose, elk, deer, bear, whatever. Like it's totally different, and like your body feels different too.
Yeah,
when you're eating that stuff.
it does. It's like insane amount of energy that you get from like real food. Because me and Courtney talk about it a lot. Like, there's so many diets out in the world.
Fab diets.
And none of them are sustainable, I don't think. I call my diet just real food diet. Just eat anything you want as long as it's real.
Yeah.
And, like, what better stuff can you get than, like, wild game and, like, fish that you catch either in the ocean or in the lakes? And, yeah, it's there's no difference. Like, even, like, we bought half a pig. And that pork that we have, compared to just even buying, like, pork chops at, like, Safeway, like, what a difference.
So much better. So much tastier. So much better quality. And just so much, like, more satisfying to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even, like, carrots from the grocery store compared to carrots in your garden.
Yeah.
I don't know what they put on carrots at the grocery store, but that's not a carrot.
No.
A lot of the time it just tastes like nothing, and then you eat one out of your garden, it's like candy. Like, it's just so sweet.
Yeah.
And I went away from that kind of lifestyle for like a long time. And then when we started doing it, we went to like the health food store in Fort St. John, and they sell Big Lake Ranch is a family in Chetwynd. They have a huge farm out there, and they farm all kinds of vegetables and beef and stuff. And we bought carrots from there, and I bit into one and was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I forgot what a carrot tasted like.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds, like, because you're just so used to eating those little mini ones that come in a bag.
Yeah.
Well, like, who knows how long those carrots sit there before they actually get sold. Like, that's just, it's trash, man. It's totally trash.
Yeah. Well, and when you're buying meat from a grocery store, too, like, a lot of times, if you see a steak, it's just, like, a steak. And, like, if you forget it on the counter, it's like, oh, man, I wasted $20.
Yeah.
But if you have, like, moose steak or whatever, like, when you shot your moose when you were, what was it, like, 15? 16?
Yeah.
Like, there was a huge amount of pride. And then plus, every time we ate supper for the next year, like, that was your moose. Like, you fed us.
Yeah. That's one of the coolest things about hunting, too. Like this year, I shot 2 bears with you out in bear camp, and Dad was there. So every time I had a pack of my, I got jalapeno and cheddar Smokies made.
Yeah.
Every single time I had one, I was reminded of like that week or 10 days that we were out there, and it was like, it's almost like you get a memory mixed in with your food, kind of.
Yeah.
It's cool to be connected to it. It really is, I think.
Or sometimes you also get it where if you shoot an animal somewhere, it takes so much work to go get it. You're like, oh, I had to go swim across this beaver dam to go get that moose, so sure as hell I ain't letting that go rotten.
Yeah.
Well, it's an accomplishment, right? Like, you actually put your freaking blood, sweat, and tears out there to get it. Like, that's huge. Especially nowadays when everything is just so easily available to just run down the store and buy their crap. Like, it's huge to be able to be like, I killed that. I took care of it. That's awesome.
Well, and then, like, packaged meat, too. If you look at it, I don't know if this is from United States, Canada, BC, Alberta, who knows. But, like, when I grab, like you said, a package of bear meat, I can go, this came from kilometer so-and-so on mile 98 on the right-hand side at this lease. This is the location of the lease.
Yeah.
And this is where I shot him, and he died in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Where the other stuff, it's like,
I don't know.
it says sirloin.
Yeah.
Well, and who knows what vaccinations and stuff they plopped into that. If that thing could have been over-vaccinated, like it's hormones and stuff to make the beef up quick. Like, yeah, like it's so much better off doing your own hunting.
And especially the biggest difference is like chicken.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Oh
chicken.
man.
Store
like,
chicken is gnarly.
Yeah, like I don't know what's in it, but I just don't even touch it. I'm like, ugh, we got chickens here. Get gross. Like it's so much better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's. And two, like, in the last couple years, like, we've seen the world kind of go crazy. And at some points, there literally was, like, no meat in grocery stores. And it's crazy to me to think that, like, some people, like, if you couldn't buy your food from a grocery store, if they actually had a problem with supply chains breaking down or whatever, they wouldn't know, like, how to feed themselves.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Well, another thing with that, too, is there's such a big disconnect as to where food comes from now that you'll see people say, well, why would you hunt? You don't need to hunt anymore. You can just go to the store.
Yeah. It's crazy that people think like that. They don't know like where their meat comes from. They don't know where anything comes from, really.
Well, and it's the same people that are pushing, like, go vegan, like, get this meatless, or like, yeah, meatless whatever. Like, no, that's not food. That's gross. No.
Yeah,
No.
that's like when everything started going downhill and everybody started buying in bulk. I didn't buy a single steak.
Yeah.
I didn't buy a single pork chop. I didn't buy a single chicken wing. But I bought bullets.
Bullets and
Actually,
toilet paper? No, I'm
Yeah, I was
just
gonna say
kidding.
those shortages didn't affect us at all, aside from finding toilet paper.
Yeah, and that year, like the first 2 years of everything being all completely sideways, not once did we miss a meal.
No.
And like if it came down to it, and our freezer was completely empty, and it was July, I'm gonna eat.
Yeah. We'll just put it out there. We'll just
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and two, one of the coolest things about this kind of lifestyle too is you do all the work in the spring, you prepare, and you do the work in the summer, and you hunt in the fall and all that, and you fill your freezer, and you've told me this before, like, it is such a good feeling to know, like, I'll be fine all winter.
Yeah.
I don't have to buy a single thing and I'd be fine.
Yeah.
I might be eating the same thing every day, but I'll be fine.
Yeah, I have a 750 square foot freezer. I open it up, I look inside, I go, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I close it.
Yeah.
Like the amount of stress and anxiety is like there's nothing there.
Yeah. Even people that don't hunt, like if you buy yourself or your family like half a cow, it's a lot of meat.
Yeah.
And you save a lot of money. Yeah, you got to pay up front, whatever it is, a couple $1,000s or whatever. But then, boom, you have meat forever, basically.
And
Same.
you're also supporting, probably somebody local, somebody that really deserves to be supported, as opposed to the chain freaking grocery store that crap's just trucked in. God knows what's put in it. God knows how long it's been sitting out. Like, yeah, you're supporting a small business person, and that's the kind of people that make a difference in our lives. Like, keep us going.
Yeah. And same thing with like people who live in town and they don't want to hunt or they can't hunt, but they still want their own food and stuff. Grow a garden.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to think big or anything. Like, a couple of planters. If you don't have room for it, well, if you have a front yard and a backyard, you got room for food.
Yeah.
Get rid of the lawn.
Yeah.
You can even do a pretty good balcony one on it.
Oh, yeah.
Apartment.
It's
Like a little
no
herb garden,
problem at
yeah.
all. Even if it's only enough to make, like, the one pot of carrots, at least you know what a real carrot tastes like.
Yeah.
Before we moved from Fort St. John, we started a garden at the community garden.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like, I had gardened since I was a kid, since, living with my parents' place. Or living at my parents' place as a kid, and like it was so awesome. We got carrots and radishes and like I think a little like some peas and stuff, and it was just like wow, like there's something so awesome about like getting your hands in the dirt and just like it was awesome.
Yeah, and there's like a huge sense of pride with that too. Like when I was a kid, when I was 12, when I was 10, I shot my first mule deer, and like the pride and just like the feeling you get where it's like I'm feeding everybody.
Yeah.
Like there's so many kids that don't get that, and I feel so sorry for those kids because like it's amazing when you're that young and you have that much. I don't know.
Responsibility, even.
Yeah.
It's a responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it really goes a long ways, and it really starts a really good foundation for growing up.
I still remember my dad always used to mark anything I shot with my name on it in the
Yeah.
freezer. So every time they pulled out something that I shot from the freezer, they'd be like, "Oh, it's from your deer," and I'd always be like, "Yeah, we're eating my deer tonight."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it was so cool, right?
Yeah, I think it's really important for people that have kids to get them outside and outdoors and not just plunk them down in front of electronics and screens and
And feed them crap.
it happens too much nowadays. Like, some kids are just bad. And I think that's why, because they don't have attention for anything, and I think it's the parents' job, and it's the most important job, is to get these kids outside and teach them real life skills that they can use.
Yeah. Well, and like for us, like not so much you because you weren't really into the trapping thing all that much, but for me growing up trapping, like it was awesome where Dad was like, "Here's a trap, figure it out, catch that lynx." And after trial and error, you eventually figured out and you troubleshooted how to get that lynx to go into this pen and step on that one little pan. And like even to this day, you give me a problem and I just start trial and error.
Yeah.
Start this, didn't work. Okay, try this. That didn't work. Try this, and it almost worked. But if I had a little guide stick here to make that Lynx put his head over here and then go through the snare or whatever, it's like it really starts out. I don't know. It helps.
Yeah. It teaches you like real life
solving,
problem
right?
solving.
Like, and to think outside the box and to like reevaluate what you've done and be like, okay, not quite there. Like, yeah, it's so important.
Well, it's also a healthy way to learn that failure is okay. You just keep trying and working on it.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually
you
that
fail a
payoff
lot.
is
Yeah.
and eventually that payoff is just oh so sweet.
Yeah.
90% of life is trial and error. You don't know
Yeah.
it till you figure it out, unless you got somebody that holds your hand every step of the way, and then that's even worse because you have no independence. So.
Yeah.
Even like when we have kids, like I want to like bring them out, even when they're just little. You know, set them up out there at the garden while we're planting stuff. You know, get them all dirty and they can play in the dirt and
play with their mud pies.
right, make mud pies and just
That's
be a
one thing that my
kid.
dad always did is he took me everywhere. Like even when he used to take me quadding, he used to strap me on his chest, just like duct tape my head up and ride on the quad. And
Yeah.
if they went picking berries, they just like plop me down.
Yeah.
I'd eat everything I could reach, and well, they just did their thing, and
Yeah.
I just kind of grew up to love it for the longest time.
Yeah. Yeah, we live in kind of a different world now where it's, I don't know, it's people, it seems like a lot, especially young people, they're kind of just getting away from the outdoors a bit. And I think stuff, especially like Buick Outdoors, it helps because people watch it on YouTube and you show them like some of the stuff you do and they're like, oh wow, it's not as hard as I thought it is or something like that. I've learned so much just from watching your videos. I have.
Well, and it makes it look fun because this
Yeah.
kind of stuff is fun, right?
It is.
Like it is.
Yeah,
And
well,
you
I
need to
mean,
bring
like,
that back to it.
a lot of people, they need kind of direction. Like,
Yeah.
they're like, I want to go fishing, but I don't know how. It's like, okay, well, this is how you do it. And like, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you need a rod, a reel,
Yeah.
some lure, and a body of water that has fish. Just go cast and reel it in.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Right? Yeah, and they can watch a video and like watch one of your fishing ones, see how you catch a fish, and then you cook it, and then they can go out and do that.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, wow, this is really cool.
That's
Oh,
like
yeah.
how many people comment on your gross videos, like, wow, I never
Yeah.
thought to cook it that way. Even when we started dating, one of the first things you did was middle of winter, you brought me a bunch of grouse to my apartment, and you made me a stir fry. And I was just like, whoa, I never thought of doing that with grouse. We always just like floured it and fried it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just so cool to see a different, easy way to do it.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people, too, maybe they were forced to go when they were kids because that's just what dad did.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're going hunting because dad's going hunting. I don't want to do it, so he's dragging me out. And it's just not fun. So when they get older and they have kids, they're like, it was never fun. Like, you're not missing much.
Yeah.
So when they watch something like Buick Outdoors or whatever it is, and they go, oh, well, maybe it is fun.
Yeah.
Like, oh, maybe we should take this approach. Like, we don't have to go all out. You don't have to wake up at
Yeah.
3:30 in the morning, hike for 10 kilometers just to sit on a hill and look for moose.
Yeah.
Like, you can have fun with this. You can make
Yeah.
it enjoyable. Like, it's hunting, fishing, trapping, rock collecting. It's not about the kill or the collection of stuff. It's just about getting outside and
Yeah.
just having fun. And if you need something like 1,000 Hours app to get you out there, or their podcasts or their books and all that stuff,
Yeah.
give her. Like, it's amazing that they have that too.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I haven't listened to them in a while, but a lot of their stuff, they would talk about like how being outside is like basically not an end all or whatever, but it cures like depression, anxiety, like it's huge. And I know it does because this is once again like one of the best years of my life. I feel amazing.
Well, it grounds you, right? And we're meant to be connected to we're meant to be connected to nature. We're meant to be connected to the moon. We're meant to be connected to bodies of water. It's part of us. It is us, right? So when we get so far out of touch with it, that's when we start to feel really bad, and that's when depression sets in, and that's when your body gets out of whack, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's not how our ancestors did it. We didn't just like hide in our house and freaking play on our Switch 95 hours of the day. Like, we went outside and we lived outside. We were connected, and that's why we've gotten so far from it. That's why people are sick.
Yeah.
Well, even I feel the difference too. If there's a terrible week and it's -20 and the wind's blowing and stuff,
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy going out and that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody does.
No.
But after like 4 or 5 days of that,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to suffer.
Yeah.
And I go outside and I do something.
Yeah.
Whether it's go outside, split firewood for 10, 15 minutes, get one ray of sunshine on me.
Yeah.
It's like good enough. You breathe fresh air for once and like,
Yeah.
we're not meant to be cooped up.
No, I don't even think humans are meant to live in like cities. I
No.
really
I
don't.
don't think so.
You need your own space, and like there is nothing I love better than going out here at Macaroni Meadows and like just doing chores for like 4 hours.
You know what a really
I
good thing
love
to do
it.
is too if you're like stressed out or you got a lot of anxiety. I used to in the fall, especially summer too, but in the fall a lot. I'd go back in the backfield with no shoes on and I would just walk around.
Mm-hmm.
And grounding is so good and it's so important and it just reconnects you. And even like in the wintertime, I haven't done it too many times because I'm a big chicken, but like take your shoes off and walk in the snow.
Yeah.
Barefoot. Like it sucks for a little bit, but then there's just something about it that it's reconnecting you.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many people out there in the world too where it's like they've never seen the stars.
Yeah, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
It's oh man, because even here, like we live in town,
Mm-hmm.
but you go outside and look up, and it's just like like it's so clear.
Oh, the full moon the last couple days?
Oh.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
She's
Like I feel
absolutely
so
gorgeous.
bad for people like that, you know.
My
Yeah.
best friend, she moved to Edmonton 4 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really thinking. She came out to Buick. She stopped before we even went in the house. She's like, the stars. I was just like, yeah, what about them? She's like, they're beautiful. Like, I haven't seen the stars in
Yeah.
years, and I couldn't even imagine it. Like, just all that smog and smoke and light pollution.
The
from
light
the
pollution
cities.
is terrible.
Yeah. And then even something as simple as like the sound of silence.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go out to some of the parts of the woods that I'm in,
Yeah,
like you just, once as you stop moving, there's nothing.
yeah,
Like it is like actually quiet.
Just
Yeah.
a peace, hey?
Yeah,
Just
where
like-
people, they just kind of drown out the noise of sirens or people yelling at their dog, or if you're in a big city, the sirens going
yeah,
constantly, the subway going by, and it's
Mhm.
like they've never actually heard silence.
yeah,
And like when they do, it freaks them out.
yeah. It's like it almost like it scares them a bit because it's so quiet.
Yeah.
Well, even when we moved here, like in Fort St. John, our house was right down from the fire hall, and so like you heard the like alarms and stuff go off, and like you get used to it. When we first moved here, it took me probably a couple weeks to get used to silence.
Mhm.
Like it was almost like I want to say almost a little bit unnerving because
Yeah,
I was like,
you're
it is so freaking
Yeah.
quiet here. Like,
Yeah, it
what's
just puts you
going
on edge almost, like what's gonna
right?
happen.
Like what, like
Yeah.
right?
I've seen this movie before.
Yeah,
It's like I lived in an apartment when Sean and I first met, and it was right by the high school, and it was always pretty busy. So when I first moved out, like just getting used to how quiet it was, especially when I was home alone, it was unsettling because every single little noise that did come, I was like, "What is that?
yeah.
Who's here?
What is that?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on?" But just like the lack of noise, you're like, where is everything?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And then once you get that though, it's like, oh, I don't want anything else.
Yeah.
Right? Like I
Like
go
I
back.
love
Yeah.
my peace and quiet.
Yeah.
It's anything that disturbs my peace, I don't like.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about coming to your guys' house is it's so quiet out here.
Yeah,
It is
like we
very
got
quiet
one neighbor
here.
dog who barks a little bit in ours, but that's it. Well,
Yeah.
we got ducks and chickens, but
Oh yeah, the
They're
ducks
sleeping.
and the chickens will keep you on your toes.
yeah,
It's so cute though. They say hi to me like when I like let them out and I'm doing my chores and stuff. I'd be like, "Hi,
Yeah.
Paul," and he'll be like, "Quack quack quack." I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I love you."
Yeah. Well, and like even us living in Buick,
Mhm.
we're not surrounded by anything really.
Yeah.
But even there, being in the house for a few hours or whatever, like you can almost feel like the air density almost.
Mhm.
And if I go even 5 minutes up the road, even if I walk half a click and I go into the trees, like it feels and smells
Yeah.
so much better.
yeah,
Like I don't know if it's just like the dust and pollen in the air or what it is, but like just going outside for a quick little walk, like it like clears your lungs almost.
yeah,
Clears
So-
your head too, right?
Oh yeah, so if you are in like a city and like you go outside but you're still
yeah,
In the
in
dome.
the shit.
yeah, yeah. No kidding.
The dome.
There's something about going for a walk. I absolutely love.
Mhm.
Even if I'm busy doing something, with our YouTube or podcast, and I can't quite think of what I want to do, I'll just go for a walk. It clears your head, and you just like, oh man,
Yeah.
you get some of my best ideas have come on long walks.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
I'm weird if there's not an actual like destination at the end. I hate going for walks.
Oh,
I'm like, I
I
want
like
to
to-
go
I
see
always-
something.
I always start, and then I never know where I'm going. ever. I just go and I go this way.
It's
That
true.
way.
We'll be walking the dogs. They'll be like, left or right?
Yeah, I asked
Right
the
or
dog.
left? I'll be like, okay, well, there's a huge dog down that road, so let's go the other way.
Yeah.
I'll walk for
Yeah,
as
the
many
dogs.
kilometers as you want me to, as long as there's something cool to see at the end.
Yeah.
This is how I think we're always going to see like places to go fossil hunting or dinosaur tracks, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll walk for 10 kilometers to go see some dinosaur tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to. It's definitely been cool to get back into the outdoors. I just absolutely love it. And one of my favorite days last year was Macaroni's second birthday when we brought her out chicken hunting.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. I was shooting at chickens, and I think I ended up bagging 3.
Yeah, and you
think
shot
so.
my jar.
No, I didn't shoot the jar.
I shot the
I shot my jar.
That was an old mushroom jar.
Brand new. Sheldon goes, what is this thing doing here? It's getting out of this house. I was like, okay, I'll give it to my friend. Nope, they took it out. They shot it on Macaroni's birthday.
Yeah, it
Well,
was
even
funny.
the animals love being outside. Like, I know sometimes when Blain's
Oh, yeah.
gone, I don't, we like to take the dogs down to Williston and stuff and just let them blow off some stink and do their thing.
Mm.
But when Blaine's here, like when you're gone to camp and stuff, because my car is not exactly the best winter mobile, they get like cooped up and they feel cabin fever too.
Yeah.
So like it's just one of those things where you gotta get out there, you gotta get some air, and you gotta enjoy that you have the opportunity to do that. Because a lot of these people in big places, they don't get that. They
Yeah.
don't have that opportunity.
Well,
Yeah.
a lot of them have never even done it, so it doesn't even hold any kind of appeal.
Mhm.
It's weird.
Yeah. One with you getting back in the outdoors now too, like you've totally reconnected with like me and with Dad and stuff like that, and like
Yeah.
bear camp actually means something now.
Oh,
Like-
100%. It's like I look forward to it every year, all year.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't wait. And like, it doesn't matter like what work's got going on or whatever. It's like, no, I'm leaving. It's bear camp.
Yeah.
What do you mean bear camp? Yeah, bear camp. See ya.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
And it's funny how that started too, because the one spring, however long that was, like 10, 12 years ago, during the fall, I noticed that like the moose in the area that I was hunting just completely got wiped out.
Yeah.
But then I would drive 16 kilometers and I'd count like 35 bears. And
Yeah.
like that's not exaggerating.
No.
So then I was like, well, I mean, there's a bear season. So I talked to Dad. I was like, you ever hunted bears before? He goes, yeah, back in the 101 dump, but that's where they stayed.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't know. And then I started looking online, and people are like, yeah, we eat bears all the time. They taste great.
Yeah.
Other people are like, no, they taste like garbage. Just not worth it. I'm like, well, I'll make up my mind for myself. So I went out, bought a bear tag. It was spring. I've been cooped up all winter. Went out, shot a bear, and I was like, oh, finally, I'm out hunting again.
Yeah.
Like, this is a blast. Made them into sausages, cooked them up. That day, I went into town just before backcountry closed, and I bought a second bear tag. I came back out. The next day, I shot a second bear.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was just like every spring, I went camping. And for the most part, I was by myself for the first, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years.
Yeah.
And then you came out once or twice, and then Dad came out once, and then Wade came out with Dad the one day, and now it's like, it's a big thing.
It is, yeah.
Like, it's
yeah.
And like everybody's eating bears, and
Yeah.
now like it's a success story because now the moose population is actually coming up now too.
Yeah.
And like over the years, like I don't know how many bears we've killed. Like I've killed 2 bears consistently every year for 10 years. So that's 20.
Yeah.
You've come out, I think you've got 3.
3, yeah.
Dad's gotten 3 or 4. Karen got 1.
Yeah.
Wade got 1. My buddy Tevin's come out. He's gotten 2, I think, now.
I got one.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
got 1. Like, we have shot so many bears, and, like, it's still a very healthy population, but, like, just the predator management and bringing up the moose population, like, it's, I feel just amazing.
Yeah.
Because
And you're not exaggerating. I remember the first year I came out, like, we'd go for a hunt, and we would see, like, 15 bears.
Yeah.
Like, in like a span of like 2 hours. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
Now you actually have to drive a little bit,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But at least now it seems like they're like in like a manageable number.
Yeah.
Where before, like,
They're everywhere.
you could have went out with 100 rounds, shot every single bear that you've seen, and the next day there'd be another bear in its place. Like, it was just
Yeah.
Well, there
Insane.
was almost like a stigma behind like eating bear too, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, trichinosis, like no, like I don't wanna. And it's kind of nice that you had brought so much attention to that people are like, no, like yeah, that's always a possibility. You need to be aware of that, but like there's ways to like prep it and to like that's not a guaranteed. It's not like, oh, I ate bear, so now I'm gonna get it, right? Like, I think you kind of, by going out there and bringing everybody out there and, like, getting that going, you've brought a good awareness to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's like my dad, he's never had any interest in eating bears. He always thought they were gross, dirty, garbage meat, and now all of a sudden he's wanting to come out this year to bear camp.
Yeah. Well, and even with me, if I've shot 20 bears, and they're, 150 pounds each, some were bigger, some were about that size, that's 3,000 pounds of bear meat that I have cooked and consumed, and not one thing of trichinosis.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, if you're worried about it, boil it.
Yeah.
Water boils at like 200 degrees, 160 kills trichinosis.
Yeah. And like even, like I know before you tried the bear meat.
Oh, I was like, I'm
You're
not
like,
eating bear.
I'm not eating bear. I'm not eating bear.
I'm not getting. Yeah, no, I was. Well,
Yeah.
and that's something like the fear my parents put into me.
Yeah.
Because I remember being very, very young, and my dad and my uncle, who was like an older guy at the time, they went and they each got one. They got a brown bear and a black bear, and I remember being really little and like watching them skin it. And I remember, I think it was my mom turned to my sibling, I think it was my brother, and she was like, "Man, doesn't that look just like a skinned human?" And I was like, "Woo!" And like that, like I was like, and ever since that always stuck with me. And as we got older, I remember my like parents being like, "Oh, you don't eat bear. Like bear's garbage. They'll just eat anything, and like you don't eat them." And so when you're like, "I'm going bear hunting," I was like, "Say what? Like what?"
Yeah.
Oh, you making a rug?
Yeah,
It was the same way. Like
I was the
what?
same way. Sheldon had to sit there and really convince me to try bear meat for the first time when I moved out. I remember it was actually a bear roast, and I took like the tiniest little piece off the roast and I ate it. All of a sudden he looked and I was like sneaking in the kitchen to get a bunch more on my plate.
Yeah.
And then the next spring I was out shooting my own bear.
Yeah.
I remember the first bear I got with you, I turned it all into Smokies. And I brought a pack with me. I went fishing with my buddy Colin. And we fished like all day and we were like just starving. And I was like, hey, I brought bear Smokies in the truck. So we went back and we had a fire and he was like, oh, bear Smokies, I don't know. So we cooked them up and man, he was like, oh, these are delicious.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah. A bear Smoky cooked over fire,
Best.
you cannot beat it.
No.
Like, it's on par with literally like a steak.
Yeah.
It's so good, especially if you're out in the woods, like fishing or doing whatever.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, I got those Smokies there. I'm going to cook them up.
I'm
Awesome.
I'm a pizza monster, and we use bear smoky on our pizza now when we make pizza at home. It's so freaking good.
Yeah, like when I made that pepperoni
Yeah.
for you, I made those big round ones, and I was like, yeah, slice that up, throw it on a pepperoni pizza.
Yeah.
And that top notch.
Yeah,
So
I want
good.
one of my bears this year. I'm gonna turn like all into like homemade pepperoni. I want to do it myself and
Yeah.
do it on the smoker and get those big ones that you had. Those are good.
Yeah. One, like, even those big ones, if you make like 2 of them, because like one is, I think, 5 pounds.
Yeah.
So you make 2 of them, that's 10 pounds, and then the other 20 pounds, turn that into like the links.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's such a like. It's a unique meat, but it's good.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
And even like I find too, like bear meat is good for, like it's such a good source of like protein. Like you get so much energy from it.
Oh, yeah.
I find.
Yeah, it's wicked. One, like, even back in the day, like, when people were coming over in, like, Christopher Columbus days or whatever, people would shoot a deer, throw away the meat, and then sell the hides, and they would shoot a bear, throw away the hide, and eat the meat. So, like, they preferred bear over, like, a white-tailed deer.
Yeah.
This day and age, you never hear that.
No. No.
When it comes to bear, I always hear that it is like insanely greasy, insanely fatty.
Tough.
It just has like
I was told tough, very
disgusting flavor, and I'm just like, what are you doing cooking it that wrong? And they're like, oh, well, I guess you just don't eat much bear. And I'm like, we get 2 every year. What do you mean I don't eat much bear?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Did you shoot it in a dump?
Yeah.
It's great.
And it's been
Yeah.
garbage.
It's
It's
better-
a garbage bear.
Yeah, it's
so-
better than any piece of beef I've ever eaten.
Yeah.
I mean, shooting bears too, depending on where they live, does change how they taste, especially in the fall, because they have such a thick fat layer. Like if you shoot a bear in blueberries, they're gonna have a sweet taste to them.
Yeah.
But if you're on like a salmon running stream and you shoot
Yeah.
a bear, there's a good chance that you're gonna have a slight fishy taste. But that's also if you leave a lot of the fat on too. Like a lot of the flavor comes from the fat. But like even bear fat, if you trim it all off and render it down, you can have bear lard.
Yeah.
And like that is amazing to cook with and bake with. Like it's a phenomenal animal.
Oh, you
The
can
First
do
Nations
everything
use that a
with
lot
it.
too in a lot of their stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can weatherproof things. It's great for your hair and skin and nails. And
What do you
just
do with it?
everything.
Just cut it off and put it in a mason jar or something? Or
You cut it off, put it into a pot, and
Yeah.
you just slowly cook it down,
Yeah.
kind of like watching butter melt almost. And then once all your cracklings kind of start to deep fry almost, or just before that, take it off the heat, strain it, and then you have bear lard.
Cool.
Like it's a very simple thing. The only thing is like with the bears that we hunt in the spring, because
it's
they're
not
just
gonna
coming
have-
out of hibernation, there's no fat.
Yeah.
They're bare boned. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very, very
They're
little
hungry.
fat.
Yeah.
What's crazy is it used to be such a like desired commodity to have bear lard is that they would trade for it. Like they would rather have bear lard than like gold half the time.
Yeah, because you can put on your leather and when it soaks in, it's just like oiling your boots and it just weatherproofs them. It's amazing lotion.
They use
Really?
it for like everything. Yeah, like it's a very you can use it for you name it.
Yeah, people make bear oil like beard oil and stuff like that. Like, it's great.
Cosmetics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of neat.
So on that note, we're gonna call this a day here, guys. I want to thank you for all tuning in, listening to it. Hopefully everything sounds all right. We're over at Blain's place, so don't exactly have all the full setup here, but thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure to head over to Macaroni Meadows. Check him out. He's on YouTube there. And then he also has a No Wasted Days podcast. He's out on all major podcast platforms. So thanks to Blain and Courtney for coming over and doing this. And
It was awesome.
catch you guys on the next one.
Thanks for having us.